In 2019, archaeologists uncovered something beneath the desert floor that no one expected. A city, massive, ancient, obliterated in a single catastrophic moment. The heat signature left in the soil was not volcanic, it came from above. Scientists called it a cosmic airburst event. The Bible called it judgment. For thousands of years, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah was treated as myth. A moral tale for children, a metaphor for excess, a warning too extreme to be literal. But the ground does not lie, the ash does not forget. And now, layer by layer, the earth is giving back what fire tried to erase forever.
Can you photograph this marker?
What really happened on that plain, and why did an entire civilization vanish overnight? And why does the text say the outcry reached heaven before a single flame ever fell? This is not a retelling of a Sunday school story. This is the collision of archaeology, scripture, and a silence that has lasted 35 centuries. Walk slowly here, think carefully, because what you are about to encounter does not end in ash. It ends with a question aimed directly at you. And the answer may be the most important thing you decide this year. Before fire ever touched the plain, before a single city crumbled into ash, there was a man standing under a foreign sky with no map and no explanation. Only a voice that called him by name. His name was Abram. His name was Abram, not a king, not a warrior, not a prophet with a following. He was the son of a man named Terah, raised in Ur of the Chaldeans. A civilization so advanced it still impresses archaeologists today. Ur was not a backwater village lost in the desert, it was one of the most sophisticated cities of the ancient world. Towering ziggurats rose above its skyline like stone prayers aimed at silent gods. Its streets were organized, its markets thriving, its schools already teaching mathematics and astronomy. To leave Ur was not to escape poverty. It was to walk away from everything civilization had to offer. And yet the voice said, "Leave." Leave your country, leave your relatives. Leave your father's house, go to the land I will show you. No coordinates, no timeline, no guarantee of safety. Just a direction and a promise so large it could not fit inside one lifetime. I will make you into a great nation, I will bless you and make your name great. All families of the earth shall be blessed through you.
Fresh dates from the south. This wool is of the highest quality.
Make me an offer.
A fair price for these linens.
That last line is the one most people skip over too quickly. All the families of the earth. Not just Abram's family, not just one tribe or one religion. Every nation, every city that did not yet know his name. Sodom was already there. did not know that its fate was being quietly stitched into the culling of one aging man who had just packed his tent and stepped onto an unmarked road.
Tents are secure. The ropes are loose.
Watch your step, brother. Stay with the group.
Abram was 75 years old when he left. His wife Sarai could not bear children. The promise of becoming a great nation was handed to a man whose own household had produced no heir. This is how God works. Not by choosing the obvious candidate, not by selecting the powerful, the young, the already successful. He selects the impossible situation and wraps his promise around it like a fist. Abram did not argue, he did not negotiate. The text says simply, "So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken." That single line contains a universe of courage. He entered Canaan, a land already occupied, already named, already claimed. To every human observer, he was nothing more than a wandering herdsman, threading his way between empires too large to notice him. But from heaven's vantage point, something else was happening. Every place Abram stopped, he did not build a fortress. He did not plant a flag or sign a treaty. He built an altar and called on the name of the Lord. In a world saturated with stone idols and temple priests, one
God of
man
my
kept
fathers,
lifting his voice to
hear
an
your
invisible
servant.
God as if the sky
I look
itself
to
were
you.
listening,
Grant me strength.
because it was. Walking beside him, sharing dust and hunger and hope, was his nephew Lot, the son of a brother gone too soon. Lot did not hear the voice directly.
I hear you. I will go.
But he walked in the wake of Abram's obedience. The blessing on Abram spilled over him. Flocks increased, servants multiplied, their camps swelling like twin constellations moving across the land. And
Keep your
then,
beasts back.
as
We
blessing
have as
so
much
often
right to this
does,
water.
it
Not
created
here.
pressure.
This is our spring. We travel too. There is no other water.
The land between them began to feel too small. Herdsmen argued,
Leave this
voices
place.
rose,
We have as much
and
right
the
as you,
ground
brother.
itself
Not on
seemed
this
to
sacred
choose
ground.
sides.
This is our land. Move your flocks now.
Abram could have pulled rank. He was the elder, the one who had received the call. He
I
was
have been
older,
waiting for you, my
wealthier,
son.
chosen, and he used none of that to win.
I have come as you commanded.
Instead,
land
he
and its
turned to
bounty
Lot
I
and
offer,
said, "Let there
you
be
will
no
only come
strife
after me."
between us,
To give it all away?
for we are kinsmen," and that word meant everything in a world without borders or laws. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself from me. If you take the left hand, then I will go to the right.
in your own eyes, my son. I will go the other way.
Or if you take the right hand, then I will go to the left. Lot lifted up his eyes and saw the whole Jordan Valley, lush, watered, abundant. The grass was greener down there, and that simple fact would cost him everything. The water was close, the cities were established, the road to comfort was paved and obvious. There were no ravens circling, no obvious warning signs, just a beautiful valley and a man who chose with his eyes. This is what the text tells us. Lot chose for himself. 2 words in Hebrew, and in those 2 words, 1,000 years of consequence. He chose the plain of Jordan. He journeyed east, pitching his tent toward Sodom. Toward Sodom, not into it yet, but close enough to hear its music at night. That detail is not accidental. The writer wants you to feel the gravitational pull. Cities like Sodom do not kidnap you, they simply make themselves visible and wait. Lot pitched his tent toward Sodom, the door of his tent facing the direction of the city. That small directional choice, the way a door faces, tells us everything about where a soul is leaning. Meanwhile, something else was unfolding on the highlands, something quieter and far more permanent. After Lot departed, God spoke to Abram again, not to comfort him for what he had lost. Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are. Northward and southward and eastward and westward, all of it, in every direction, as far as you can see. For all the land that you see, I will give to you and to your offspring forever. I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth. So that if one can count the dust of the earth, your offspring also can be counted. Arise, walk through the length and the breadth of the land. For I will give it to you. Every ridge he walked, every valley he crossed, was an act of faith made visible. Abram moved his tent and settled by the oaks of Mamre.
May God bless this place.
He built an altar there to the Lord, the 4th altar in this journey, and not the last. Every place Abram stopped, he worshipped, not as a transaction, but as an orientation. I want to pause here because I think we misread Abram's generosity toward Lot.
Thank you, Father. I am grateful.
We often read it as niceness, as Abram being polite, being the bigger man. But look at what God says immediately after Lot leaves. After Lot separates, God expands the promise, as if the act of surrender created more room. Abram did not lose when he let Lot choose first. He positioned himself exactly where God wanted him, outside the city, on the high ground, with an altar in an open sky. Lot positioned himself toward Sodom, inside the valley, near the gate, close to the noise. 2 men, 2 choices, 2 completely different orientations of the soul.
Leave them alone! Give them to us!
And here is the part of the story that most sermons skipped. The war, 4 kings against 5, and Lot caught in the middle of it. Genesis 14 records a regional war involving 9 kings across the Jordan Valley. Sodom and its allies were defeated, its people taken captive, its goods plundered. And Lot was among the captives. The man who had chosen the plain for its comfort was now walking it in chains. A messenger came to Abram, running, breathless, carrying the news of the defeat.
Go!
Abram did not
For the sake of
hesitate.
the boy,
He
go,
armed his
go!
trained men,
He is one of us now.
318
Move,
of them,
move.
and went after the enemy.
Find him!
He pursued the enemy forces north, striking them by night, dividing his forces, driving them back. He recovered Lot, recovered the
found
people, recovered the goods, and asked for nothing in return.
You king.
This is the man Lot was walking beside, a man who went to war for him without being asked. And yet Lot would drift back, toward Sodom, toward the gate, toward the life that almost killed him. That is the gravitational pull of Sodom. It does not release easily, even after it has nearly destroyed you. But Abram remained on the highlands, and the story was not finished with either of them yet. Lot descended into the valley like a man walking into a dream he had earned. Before him, the Jordan plain unfolded in every direction. Canals threading through orchards, vineyards heavy with fruit, fields dark with soil so rich it almost seemed to breathe. After years of desert dust and shifting pastures, this place felt like an answer to a prayer he had never prayed. He was not wrong about the beauty, he was wrong about what the beauty was hiding. Sodom was not a village, it was a civilization. Stone walls rose high enough to make travelers feel small at the gate. Guard towers watched every road, markets ran from dawn until long past dark. Loud with the voices of merchants, soldiers, entertainers, and caravans arriving from every corner of the known world. Archaeologists working in the region of the southern Dead Sea have uncovered layers of destruction at sites like Tal el-Hammam that match the biblical description with unsettling precision. A city of significant size, subtly and completely obliterated, with evidence of extreme heat that melted pottery and turned mud bricks into glass. Not conquered, not abandoned, erased, but when Lot first arrived, none of that was visible. What he saw was prosperity in full display. Oil flowed, wine sparkled. Tables in the finest homes groaned under the weight of food. Lamps burned through the night, pushing back the darkness as if even sleep were considered a waste of opportunity.
The streets
Music
are alive
filled the
tonight.
streets. Laughter lingered
There is
long
much
after
to
the sun
see
went
and
down.
hear. Be careful in the shadows.
If you judged only by what your eyes could see, you would say, surely this place is blessed. But Scripture does something the eye cannot. It pulls back the curtain. Hundreds of years after the valley burned, a prophet named Ezekiel would name Sodom's true disease. Not in vague spiritual language, but with surgical precision. Pride, abundance of food, prosperous ease, and a refusal to strengthen the hand of the poor in the needy. Read that against lowly, the first named sin of Sodom is not some hidden private vice. It is public, it is structural, it is the decision to feast while others starve at the gate. In the ancient Near East, hospitality was not a cultural preference, it was a sacred obligation. To welcome the stranger,
Welcome,
to
weary
protect
friend.
the vulnerable
Come in, the fire
traveler,
is
to
warm.
extend bread and
Thank
shelter
you.
to those with
I am
nothing.
exhausted.
These were acts of righteousness that reflected the very character of God. A city was judged by how it treated those with no power. Sodom had power, Sodom had abundance, Sodom had chosen to spend both entirely on itself. We can follow Lot's slow immersion into this world. First, the
Come,
convenience of
see the
walls
finest
instead of
baskets
open
from the
desert,
riverlands.
then the ease of markets instead of wandering pastures, then the prestige of a seat at
Good
the
evening,
city
esteemed
gate.
elders. Peace be with you. May you be blessed. Thank you, brother.
We appeal
The
to your
place
wisdom,
where elders
for
sat,
justice.
where
They have
decisions
stolen
were
our
made,
harvest,
where
leaving us
status
to
was
starve.
publicly
This is a lie.
displayed.
They owe us for protection.
Lot rose, he became a man of position, and with each step upward inside Sodom, something in him quietly adjusted,
judgment is
not his
final.
beliefs,
So be
but
it.
his tolerance. The
Depart from
voices at
us.
the gate
Leave at
spoke not of
once.
care, but of control.
Your grace,
The
a
powerful
token of my
treated just
esteem.
as like a
This is
commodity,
satisfactory.
available to
Not
those
without
who
a
could afford
contribution,
it,
you are not.
invisible
Away
to those who
with
could
you.
not. Widows watched grain carts roll past them into storerooms they would never enter. Foreigners learned
your
quickly to
tokens.
keep their heads down.
Not enough.
Day laborers
That's all you'll
worked for
get.
wages that
Now move
disappeared before they reached home. Poverty existed in Sodom. It was simply invisible by design.
I speak of
There is
truth,
a
but you
chilling
mock
moment
it.
in every culture when ridicule
Look at
becomes
him,
the
still
primary
trying.
weapon against righteousness.
You shouldn't waste
When
your
compassion
resources
is
on people like
rebranded
that.
as weakness, when generosity is called naive,
Utterly pathetic.
You must listen
when the
to me.
person
there is
who
still hope
asks
to save the city.
inconvenient moral
Please.
questions is treated not as a conscience but as an irritant.
Leave us.
Sodom had passed that moment long before Lot arrived.
By the
It
decree
had
of the
not
elders and
stumbled
the will
into
of the city,
darkness. It had
let this
organized
covenant be
itself
inscribed
around
and
darkness
sealed.
and given the
law
darkness
is
respectable
absolute.
names.
Look at him.
What used to
giving
be
his bread
virtue is
away.
laughed to scorn. What used to be
Amazing!
shameful had become the
Bravo!
standard.
Look at this.
The city had inverted its moral compass and was loudly proud of the new direction. This is the detail that separates Sodom from merely bad cities.
You cannot
It
do
is
this.
not
Take
just that
him.
wickedness
He has
was
spoken against
practiced.
the elders.
It is that
This is
wickedness
unjust.
was
Escort
celebrated,
him. No.
protected,
Yes, Lord.
and enforced.
Unjust.
The prophets describe it with a Hebrew word, gown. A pride so hardened it no longer trembles at injustice, no longer blushes at cruelty, no longer remembers that it was ever accountable to anything beyond itself.
Do you have any
Day
fine
after
linen for a
day,
wedding?
commerce
Yes, my friend, look here,
continued,
this red will be
people
perfect.
married,
Careful with that
people
stone up
planned
there.
and
I'll
invested and
take a
built
measure.
and
Here's your
celebrated.
payment.
From the outside, from Lot's early vantage point, it looked like success. Inside, something vital was dying. When the fear of God is removed from a culture, the fear of consequences soon follows. When a society
And so the
convinces
traveler left
itself
with
that
nothing
nothing
more than a
ultimate will
dust
hold
upside
it to
down.
account,
Well, truly.
it stops asking whether its choices are right and only asks whether they are profitable. There is a mystery in God's patience. He does not strike at the first injustice, not at the 100th. The slow delay of judgment can be misread as approval, or worse, as absence.
Henceforth, let
In
this stone
Sodom,
mark the
the
boundary
absence
of
of
the market.
immediate
Let all be
consequences
conducted
became
with
permission
order
to
and
go further.
righteousness.
So be it.
Each year that passed without punishment was interpreted as proof that the universe had no moral architecture. Yet the ground was recording everything. Heaven was keeping accounts that no one in the city could see.
Help me.
Every neglected cry, every crushed life, every act of cruelty dressed in the language of pleasure or
this
freedom.
wretch.
Each one added another line to a ledger that was growing heavier with every sunrise. The plain looked like Eden, but Eden had been guarded by a flaming sword. Sodom had no such gate. Its people walked freely into places from which their souls might never return. Lot, sitting in the gate, is one of the most tragic figures in all of Scripture. The New Testament will later describe him as wretched Lot.
이라 비게 닥쳐. 행이치. 네.
a man tormented in his righteous soul by the lawless deeds he witnessed every day. He was not numb, he was not comfortable, he was grieved, genuinely, deeply grieved by the culture pressing against his conscience. And yet he stayed. He is proof of something the church has always found uncomfortable.
No.
That you can be genuinely distressed by a culture and still be entangled with it.
God, please turn back.
That you can see the darkness clearly and still not find the will to leave. The beauty of Sodom was real. The danger of Sodom was deeper, because it did not announce itself.
That's a fine tunic.
It
Thank
did
you. How
not
much?
come with a warning
20
label or a
shekels.
visible
Come see the
countdown.
fresh bread, hot from the oven. The bread is warm today, my dear.
It
is,
came
praise
wrapped in normalcy, in
Good
the
morning,
comfortable
neighbors.
rhythms
And
of
to
a
you.
life that
Have a
felt
pleasant
too
day.
established
Same to
to
you, friend.
abandon.
By the authority invested in
When
us,
a community
let the
crosses the
transgression
line where
become the
evil is
standard.
not merely
Agreed.
tolerated but redefined
So
as
be it.
normal,
Glory to Sodom.
celebrated as freedom, protected as identity, it does not simply
We will
risk
not
judgment,
be
it
forgotten.
begins to summon it.
Sodom's well. To
Under
prosperity,
the laughter in the
another round
song,
of
under the
wine.
clinking
We
of
are
cups and the
truly
counting of
blessed.
coins,
Indulgence suits us well.
another sound was rising, a sound no one in Sodom could hear. It was the weight of divine attention, the gathering gravity of a God who had been listening to the cries of the forgotten far longer than the city had been ignoring
There's
them.
no one here?
And far away, on a quiet hillside, that same God was about to sit down for a meal with an old man who had built too many altars to count and reveal to him what was coming. If something in this chapter landed differently than you expected, if the description of Sodom felt uncomfortably familiar, that feeling is worth sitting with.
True.
Leave a comment below with one word. What does Sodom remind you of most in the world today? Not to argue, not to accuse, just to name it honestly before God. Because the first step away from any Sodom is simply the courage to call it what it is. The day Abraham received the most important news of his life began like every other day before it. Sun climbing over the ridges of Canaan, dust rising in thin familiar clouds between the tents. Servants moving between animals and water jars in the slow, unhurried rhythm of a wandering household. Abraham was sitting at the entrance of his tent in the heat of the day. The hour when most men sought shade, when the world grew still and the air pressed down like a warm hand. Then he lifted his eyes. 3 men stood nearby. Not announced by herald or trumpet, not approaching from a distance with the noise of a caravan. Simply present, close enough to be seen clearly, carrying a quality of stillness that the desert air
have
itself
found him.
seemed to recognize.
Quickly, come.
Abraham ran
I
to
saw
meet
him near
them.
the well.
That detail matters more than it first
No
appears.
time, we must go.
Patriarchs did not run, not to strangers, not in the crushing midday heat, not without reason. But something in Abraham moved faster than his age. He bowed low with his face to the earth.
I have
And
seen
the
many
words that
summers,
came from
my
him were
child,
not the cautious
but the
greeting of a
truth
suspicious man.
remains the same. The path is long, but you must take
They
it.
were the words of
Audacious.
someone who
We are here
sensed,
to show you
however
the way.
dimly,
I
that he
feel it,
was standing
but I
at the
cannot
edge of
see.
something sacred.
Please, my lords, do not pass by your
Please,
servant.
do not
Allow
pass
me
your
to
servant
offer you
by.
water and rest.
Let a little
You are
water be
weary.
brought.
Stay and eat.
Rest under the tree. I will bring a morsel of bread that you may refresh yourselves. The morsel became a feast. Fine flour was kneaded into bread. A tender calf was chosen and prepared. Curds and milk were set before the visitors,
The meal is served, my friends.
while Abraham
Eat.
stood nearby under the tree, watching,
And rest.
waiting, serving. This is the same man who had just watched his nephew. Choose the best land and walk away toward a glittering valley. The same man who had built altar after altar in landscapes no one else thought worth marking. The same man whose wife was still barren after decades of waiting.
Come and eat. This is the best we have to
And
offer.
here he was,
Thank you, honored
running,
one.
bowing,
Your kindness
feeding
is a
strangers
blessing.
with the full resources of his household. As
This
if their
food is truly
comfort
a
mattered
blessing.
more than his
May
own
it strengthen our
dignity.
journey. Peace be upon you, brothers.
Heaven shared a meal in a human tent.
Who are you?
Then came
We
the
have
question
traveled
that
far.
cut through the afternoon
Tell
like
me
a
why.
blade. Where is Sarah,
are
your
Sarah?
wife? They did not use her old
Tell
name.
me, who are you?
Sarah.
They spoke the name given in covenant, Sarah, the name that carried promise inside its syllables.
The simplest answer has been
Abraham
waiting right
answered
here.
simply,
Go.
"She is in the tent." And then the word that had no right to exist in the conversation of a 90-year-old woman's household.
You will bear a son next year.
"I will surely
And you will
return to
call him
you about
Isaac.
this time next year,
This
and Sarah your wife
is the
shall have a
promise.
son."
You will have a son.
Sarah was listening. She stood just inside the tent's
No,
entrance,
that
the
is
thin
impossible.
boundary between the visible and the hidden.
After all this time,
And she heard every word. She knew her age with
You've
the
heard
intimacy
my
of someone who had
cries.
counted every year of waiting. She knew what her body had told her for decades. She knew the quiet, particular grief of a woman. Who had buried hope so many times it had become almost a discipline. So she laughed, not loudly, not mockingly. It was an inward sound. The involuntary response of a heart that had learned not to open too quickly to impossible things.
do you know what it means to
After
live
I am
through
worn
such
out,
times?
and my Lord is old, shall I have
What
pleasure?
have you learned?
But the
Abraham,
visitor heard the unspoken
Sarah, your
laughter.
wife?
Why did Sarah laugh?
She is in the tent.
Is anything too hard for the Lord? It was not accusation. It was the gentlest possible form of correction, a reminder that the God of the covenant was not operating within the boundaries that biology and time had agreed upon. Sarah's hidden laughter was drawn carefully into the light, not to shame her, but to show her that even her doubt was within the reach of grace. A child would come. The laughter that had been brittle and private would one day return as something entirely different.
The laughter that became a name.
As joy
The
too
name that
large to
became a
contain,
child.
as a name that meant laughter given to a son, who would carry promise forward into history, but even as the future of one household was being secured. The fate of an entire region was approaching its crisis.
You are honored here.
The
Now,
three visitors
continue
rose
your
to
journey.
leave. Abraham walked with them,
Thank you,
the
honored
host
one.
accompanying
Fare you
his
well.
guests toward their
The ridge ahead
departure.
is where the path narrows.
The ancient
but it is the
gesture of
surest
honor
way.
extended
We will
to the
follow your
last
lead.
possible moment.
Truly, you honor us with this escort.
From that high place, they could look down across the hills toward the shimmering plain of the Jordan. Somewhere in that glittering distance, Sodom waited, lush, confident, utterly unaware. And then the narrative does something extraordinary. It slows, as if heaven itself pauses before the next sentence. Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? The God who called Abraham out of Ur, who had spoken promise into barrenness, who had expanded the inheritance every time Abraham chose peace over advantage. That God now pauses to consider whether to include this man in what is about to happen. The reason given is stunning in its simplicity. Abraham will surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed through him. A nation called to bless the world cannot be kept in ignorance of what destroys it. A man called to carry promise must understand the weight of what stands against it. So the weight is
Your
shared.
seed will be
The
as numerous
outcry
as the
against
stars.
Sodom and Gomorrah is great,
Sarah?
the Lord says. Their sin is very grave. I will go down to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry that has come to me. That word, outcry, is not casual language. In the ancient world it was the specific cry of
Help
victims,
us!
the scream of the
No
oppressed
one
who
can
had no
hear.
earthly defender.
Please, help us!
The voice of those crushed by systems too powerful to resist, whose only remaining appeal was to heaven itself. Sodom's sin had generated a sound, a specific, accumulated, heaven-reaching sound,
You are dismissed! Please, I beg
made up of every ignored plea, every silenced voice, every
Look
act
at
of
her.
cruelty
How
dressed in the
pathetic.
clothing of normalcy. Two of the visitors turn and begin descending toward Sodom. Abraham remains, standing before the Lord, and what happens next is one of the most audacious scenes in all of Scripture.
The dust of
A
the
man,
earth stands
dust and
before the
ashes
maker
by his
of the
own
sky,
admission, stands before the
opens
judge
its
of all
mouth.
the earth and opens his mouth. Not to defend himself, not to negotiate his own future, but to plead for a city full of people he has never met. Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked?
Will you sacrifice your only son?
Will you sweep away the righteous
Suppose there
with
are
the
50
wicked?
righteous within the city.
What if
Will you
there are
not
50
spare it for the
righteous
sake
people?
of 50?
I am here before
He is
you,
not
O
accusing
Lord.
God. He is
My
appealing to
heart
God's
and my
own
hands
character,
are open to your will.
holding the promise of justice up against the reality of judgment and asking them to speak to each other.
I have witnessed injustice in this land,
Far be
and I
it
must
from you to
speak
do
out.
such a thing.
The truth has
Shall
been
not the
obscured,
judge
and
of
it
all
is
the
time
earth
for it
do
to
what
be
is
brought
just?
into the light.
Heaven answers, if I find 50 righteous in Sodom, I will spare the whole place for their sake.
I implore you,
The
grant
negotiation
this request.
continues.
I will not cease my
45,
pleas
40, 30,
until you heed
20. Each time Abraham acknowledges his own smallness, I who am but dust and ashes.
I beseech you.
And each
Grant
time
this
presses
plea, my
one
Lord.
number lower. He is not bargaining for
Remember your
profit.
covenant.
He is wrestling for lives. He is standing in the gap between judgment and mercy. On behalf of people whose names he will never know. People who, if they passed him on the road, would not recognize him as the man who had pleaded for their sunrise. This is what intercession looks
God,
like
I
at its
beg you,
most
do
raw.
not let this happen.
Not a polished prayer spoken safely from a distance, but a man leaning into the weight of judgment and refusing to step back until mercy has been given every possible room to work.
19.
At last he reaches the number his courage can carry.
19. 19.
40.
Suppose 10 are found
is
there.
enough.
I will not destroy it for the sake of 10. 10 righteous hearts, 10 people still oriented toward God in a city of thousands. And the whole civilization would be given another morning. The Lord goes his way, Abraham returns to his place. The dialogue ends, the tension does not. We are left with the question hanging in the air like smoke that has not yet decided which direction to drift. Are there even 10? As evening gathers and the first lamps begin to flicker in the streets of Sodom below, 2 figures are already moving toward the city gate, carrying a verdict wrapped in the appearance of ordinary travelers. In the next chapter, they will step inside. And everything the city believed about itself will begin to unravel. Evening settled over Sodom like any other evening.
Time to close up.
Lamps were lit, doors were closing. The city folded itself into its familiar nighttime rhythms.
To the evening, yes.
The clinking of cups, the low rumble of conversation,
I swear you've never been right once.
the laughter of people who had never seriously considered that their world could end before morning.
Tomorrow then.
At the city gate, 2 figures approached. To anyone watching, they looked like ordinary travelers. Dusty from the road, unremarkable in appearance, carrying nothing that announced what they actually were. Lot was sitting at the gate, he saw them, and something shifted inside him. Perhaps it was a memory of a different tent, a different uncle, a different way of moving through the world
Show us the
that he had almost completely buried beneath years of city life.
Open the gate. Let us in.
Whatever it was, it moved him faster than calculation.
Not yet. The hour isn't right.
He rose, he bowed with his face to the earth.
No, my friends, I beg you.
Please,
Do not
my
act
lords,
so wickedly.
turn aside to your
Do not
servant's
do this
house,
evil thing.
spend the night, wash your feet. Then rise early and go on your way. At
We
first
intend
they
to remain
refused.
We're not leaving.
We will spend the night in the town square. In most cities of the ancient world, that would have been safe enough.
Time to rest our feet, friend.
Indeed.
Public squares
a long
were
road
places of
tomorrow.
commerce and rest,
May the night
where
be
travelers
peaceful.
could sleep without fear. But Lot knew Sodom's streets better than that. He knew what happened after the lamps were lit. He knew what the square became when respectable society went indoors.
Please, I beg you, come into
He
our
pressed
home.
them,
It's late.
urgently, persistently, until they agreed and turned
We've
toward
walked
his
far.
house. Bread was made, a meal was set. For one brief hour, hospitality flickered inside Sodom. Like a single candle in a room that had forgotten what light was for.
Open up.
Then came the knock. It began quietly, a shuffling of feet, a murmur of voices.
Open the door!
Then it grew and kept growing, until the sound outside Lot's door was not a knock but demand.
Open the door! Release
The concentrated voice of an entire city pressing itself against one man's threshold.
Open the door!
The men of the city, young and old, from every quarter, surrounded the house completely. This was not a
represent the
mob of
city.
outcasts or
The law
criminals
must be
gathering in the
upheld.
dark.
There will be consequences.
This was Sodom itself, its full population, its full appetite. arriving at the door of a man who had dared to offer shelter to strangers the city had not approved.
Open up! Send them out!
Where are
We
the
will
men who
break it
came to you
down.
tonight? Bring them out to us.
Welcome, friend.
Their intention was not hospitality, it was the absolute inversion of it.
Open this door! We demand
The
it!
deliberate, public humiliation of those who had arrived seeking safety.
We will not leave!
In the ancient world, to violate a guest was not merely a social transgression.
Open it!
It was a declaration that power, not righteousness, ruled this city. That no one was safe here unless the city permitted it. That mercy itself was subject to majority vote. Lot stepped outside and shut the door behind him.
Open the door! Give
The
them
image
to
is
us.
almost
He said
unbearable.
no. We will
One
not be
man,
denied.
one door,
remain shut.
the city
Open
of
it
his
now.
choosing pressing
You
toward him
must
from
listen.
every direction.
We have
He
one
pleaded,
chance,
he offered
and I
alternatives
know
no
what must be
righteous
done.
man should have offered.
Follow me!
Proof that Sodom had not left him untouched, that years inside its walls had deformed even his instincts for protection. He loved what was right, but he had learned to defend it. With methods born in the same darkness he was trying to resist.
You are the threat here! We
The
will
crowd's
now.
response
We
was
will
immediate
cut
and
them off
revealing.
now.
This fellow came to sojourn
Get
among
them
us,
out. You are a traitor!
and now he has appointed himself
Give
our
them
judge.
to us! Stone him now! He has defied us!
In their framing, Lot's moral protest was arrogance.
Open this door now! We know they are there.
His attempt
Give
to
them
protect
to
his
us.
guests
They are
was
under my
oppression.
roof. Leave them! Step aside, old man. We'll take them.
Righteousness had been so thoroughly inverted inside Sodom
You shelter criminals!
that the one man trying to do
We
right
say
was
they are,
accused
you
of the
defy
very
us. I
crime
am
the
not
crowd
one
was
guilty of
committing.
this crime. You are! Open up! Lord, bring them out!
This
We
is
demand
always
them.
how a culture sounds when it has crossed the final line.
Let us in!
When it can no longer distinguish between the protector and the predator, between the conscience and the criminal.
Open it!
They surged forward to break the door, and then everything
Push
changed.
harder! Now!
Come back inside. You must not hold
The
them.
visitors inside were
No,
visitors
they
no
will take
longer. Hands reached
are
out
not
from within the
staying here.
house,
Leave him!
pulled Lot back across the threshold, and shut the door with a finality that sealed two worlds apart.
Open this door! Get them! Now!
Then they struck the men outside with blindness, every one of them, from the youngest to the oldest,
Where's the door?
stumbling in sudden darkness, groping for a door they could no longer find. The men who had prided themselves on taking everything they wanted suddenly could not find a handle in the dark.
Where is the way? I cannot
Their
see.
physical blindness was not random, it was the visible expression of something that had been true about them for years. The moral blindness that had ruled Sodom long before this night,
You saw him?
I did. He was begging
that had
again.
made cruelty
Exactly.
feel like entertainment
but
and
it
the
keeps the
suffering of
tourists
others
entertained.
feel like someone
good for
else's
business.
problem.
Where is the way? I cannot see.
They wore
It is
their
shut
blindness
against
on the
us. Let us
outside
in.
now.
My eyes are worthless. The darkness is inside and out.
The inside had looked exactly like this for a very long time.
Help me! I can't see. Where are we going?
While the crowd outside exhausted itself in confusion,
Do you have anyone else in the city?
the angels turned to
Sons-in-law,
Lot with a question
sons,
that cut
daughters,
through
or
everything
anyone
else
else?
like a blade.
Get them out of here.
Do you have anyone left?
Have you anyone else
No.
here? Sons-in-law, sons, daughters,
I have no
anyone.
You are to gather all the elders.
Bring them out of this place,
Now.
for we're about to destroy it.
There are no other options.
Because the outcry against its people has become great before the Lord. And the Lord has sent us to destroy it.
The verdict is rendered.
The verdict was spoken
Let it be
aloud
known.
for the first time, not as a threat, not as a warning to be negotiated. As a fact, Sodom's sentence was not a sudden decision made in anger.
Open this gate. Open this
It
gate
was
in
the
the name of the
culmination of
people.
years
Hear
of
me,
ignored
hear me,
cries,
justice.
of silenced
Hear me,
voices,
hear my pistis.
of a city that had mistaken patience for permission and grace for indifference. Heaven had been listening the entire time. It had simply been waiting.
God, I beg you for them.
For
Let
every
us in
possible
now.
avenue of
Open this
mercy to
door.
be exhausted.
There is no mercy left!
You must leave. Flee
Lot
from
ran
this
to find
place.
his sons-in-law.
The city
The
is
men
doomed.
pledged to marry his daughters.
They know we're here. They know.
His
Everything
words
has
tumbled
changed
out
now.
with
It's
the
already
urgency of a
happened.
man
It's
who
all too late.
understood exactly what was coming.
You will find him.
Up,
You will not
get out of this
hesitate.
place. The
You
Lord
will
is about
kill
to
him.
destroy the city.
Walls falling?
They laughed, to men born and raised inside Sodom's certainty.
Impossible.
The idea that their world could be erased overnight was not terrifying, it was absurd.
I told you. Ignorant old man.
Religious panic, old
Yeah,
man
look at
fear,
them.
the kind
No
of
shame.
thing you smile
Let's
at
go.
and walk away from.
I implore
This is
you,
the
my
most
sons,
chilling detail in the
do not
entire
act so
chapter.
wickedly.
Open it! Open the door! Where are we?
Not the crowd at the door,
Push
not
harder.
the blindness
It's
in
giving
the
way.
street,
We're blind! God help us! We're blind!
but the laughter of young men who had been given every warning they needed and found it funny.
right?
Unbelief always makes the cliff look flat when a culture convinces itself that consequences are optional. Judgment does not arrive as a shock, it arrives as an interruption. Something that couldn't possibly be real right up until the moment it is. The night deepened. Inside Lot's house, the weight of what had been revealed pressed down on every surface.
I told you it wouldn't work!
Outside, the blinded crowd stumbled
it's
and
not worth
eventually
it.
dispersed, not
Stubborn
repentant,
fool.
not afraid, just inconvenienced. The last night of Sodom passed the way most final nights pass. Quietly, unremarkably, with no announcement and no farewell. The city did not know it was saying goodbye to everything it had ever built. The lamps burned a little lower, the streets grew a little quieter. And somewhere above the plain, beyond what any human eye could see, the furnace of judgment was already being prepared, patient, precise, and absolutely certain of the moment it would open. Dawn was coming, and it would not look like any dawn Sodom had ever seen. The sons-in-law laughed. But you are still here, still watching,
You are still here.
listening.
I see you. I truly see you.
That itself is a kind of answer
Your
if
presence
this
brings
film
a
is reaching
recognition I
something
have
real
yearned
in you.
for.
Something that feels less like entertainment and more like recognition. Subscribe to this channel,
The time is near.
not because we ask, but because you already
choice
know.
is yours.
You want to be in the room when the next sealed door opens. Dawn had not fully arrived when the angels moved.
Time has come. Yes.
There was no ceremony, no final warning trumpet, just two voices
Go now.
cutting through the last darkness.
near.
With the quiet urgency of men who understood exactly how little time remained.
ready.
Arise.
Get up. Take your wife.
Go forth.
Take your 2 daughters.
Live. No one leaves this room.
Leave
To
now,
cross that
or you
threshold
will be swept
is to
away in
choose
the
your own
punishment of
path
this
to
city.
judgment.
Lot did not move. That is the sentence that should stop every reader cold. Not because it is shocking, but because it is so completely, devastatingly human.
The flash.
He lingered, the man who had seen the crowd blinded outside his door.
He can't move.
You are condemned.
The man who had heard the verdict spoken aloud by messengers from heaven.
Innocent.
You are mad. It is nothing.
The man whose sons-in-law had already been warned and had already chosen to stay.
Why?
That man stood inside his house and could not make his feet move toward the door. This is not cowardice in the simple sense. This is the weight of a life. Every object in that house carried a memory. Every street outside the door held a relationship, a routine, a version of himself he had spent years constructing.
Do you remember
The
playing
city
here
that
as
was
children?
about to be erased
I
was
do.
also the city where his
Every
daughters
day
had
felt
grown
like a
up,
feast. Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
where
loves.
he had built his
Lots.
reputation,
Blessed travels.
where the ordinary texture of daily life
And to
had
you.
wrapped itself around him so completely that leaving felt less like escape and more like amputation. Judgment was
You
real,
are
the angels
real.
were real, but so was everything he was
This is
being
real.
asked to walk away from. And so he lingered. The angels did not argue. They did not deliver another speech or present additional evidence. They reached out their hands, seized Lot and his wife and his 2 daughters. The Lord being merciful to him, and pulled them physically out of the city. Dragged toward life, rescued not because he was strong enough to choose salvation, but because someone who loved him refused to let his hesitation become his obituary. This is one of the most honest portraits of grace in the entire biblical narrative. Salvation in that moment was not a trophy awarded to the resolute. It was a hand grabbing a man who was standing still and pulling him toward a door he could not walk through on his own.
Look ahead. Do
They
not
were
turn back.
set outside
we
the city
understand.
walls,
Leave
and then the
quickly,
command came, clear, unambiguous, final. Escape for your life. Do not look back. Do not stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the hills, lest you be swept away. Do not look back. Those 4 words carried more weight than any of the warnings that had come before them. They were not merely practical instruction. Get moving, keep moving, do not slow down. They were a spiritual boundary line. To look back was not simply to turn the head. It was to turn the heart, to fix the gaze on what God had decided to judge. To anchor the soul in the ruins of the world that was no longer meant to hold it.
I can offer you more.
Lot,
Please,
still
just let me
negotiating
pass.
even now, asked for one
Wait, I
small
have something
modification.
Too far. It's too far.
Not
to
the
reach
mountains. I cannot reach them in
Still so
time.
distant.
But that small city on the edge of the plain, let me go there instead. It is only a little one.
Surely.
Surely you can
see what is
spare
at
it.
stake.
Surely my life will be
Surely
safe
you won't
there.
abandon us now.
The Lord granted it. even in the final minutes before judgment fell. Mercy was still making room for the specific fears of one frightened man.
The judgment of a civilization held back
Escape
for
there
one
quickly.
man.
I can do nothing
The
until
fire
you
suspended
arrive.
for one reluctant man.
That sentence belongs in every conversation about the character of God. The fire that was about to consume an entire civilization, held back, suspended, waiting, until one reluctant man crossed the threshold of safety. As Lot's small family hurried towards Zoar, the plain behind them still slept in mourning quiet. No sirens, no visible sign. The world, from the outside, looked completely unchanged. It always does. The sun had just risen over the land. When the sky above the Jordan Valley opened, Scripture says the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire out of heaven. Not from the earth upward, from above, downward. In 2018, a team of scientists published findings from the archaeological site of Dal el Hammam in the Jordan Valley region. What they found in the destruction layer was unlike anything produced by conventional warfare or natural disaster. Melted pottery, vaporized mud bricks, zircon crystals that can only form under temperatures exceeding 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than the surface of the sun. Platinum levels consistent with an extraterrestrial
The evidence here
event.
shows total, simultaneous destruction.
A destruction layer so complete and so sudden that
Nothing
the
else
researchers
fits.
concluded only one mechanism could explain it. A cosmic airburst, an asteroid or comet fragmenting in the atmosphere above the plain, releasing energy equivalent to thousands of nuclear weapons in a single concentrated moment. The city was not burned, it was not conquered. It was not abandoned over centuries of slow decline. It was instantaneously, completely, catastrophically erased from above. The scientists called it a cosmic airburst event. The Bible called it judgment from heaven. What theology declared and archaeology resisted for centuries, the ground is now quietly confirming. The plain that had shimmered like Eden became in a single moment a furnace. The air that had carried the smell of orchards and grain filled with the acrid weight of sulfur. What had been the most fertile region in the ancient Near East was transformed into a landscape of ash and salt that would remain essentially uninhabitable for centuries to come. Cities that had stood for generations, Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, vanished from the archaeological record at the same stratigraphic moment. Not one at a time, all of them, together, simultaneously. Sin is rarely solitary, it builds alliances, it spreads through networks. And when judgment comes, it tends to move through those same networks with the same thoroughness. Somewhere on the path between the city and Zoar, Lot's wife stopped. We do not know what she heard, whether it was the sound of the impact,
No! I won't go back!
the sudden impossible light behind her, or simply the unbearable pull of everything she had left behind. But she turned, not a glance, not a quick look over the shoulder. The word used in the original text suggests a sustained turning, a fixing of the gaze. The posture of someone who is no longer fleeing but watching. Her body was on the road to safety, her heart was still in the city. And she became a pillar of salt, no lightning strike, no dramatic confrontation. Just a sudden and terrible stillness, a woman frozen at the exact boundary between the life she had been given and the life she could not stop wanting. She is the most haunting figure in the entire story, not because she was wicked, but because she was so close to safety, so close to a future, and yet unable to make the final turn that salvation required of her. Centuries later, Jesus would reach back across all of history and pulled her into his own teaching with 3 words.
Not the fire.
Remember
Just
Lot's
her.
wife, not remember
this.
Sodom, not
Not
remember the
those.
fire. Remember the one who almost made it, because the most dangerous spiritual condition is not outright rebellion. It is divided loyalty, the life that is moving in the right direction, while the heart remains fixed on what God is leaving behind. High above the valley, on the ridge of Canaan, Abraham rose early and went to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked toward the plain, and what he saw was smoke. Thick, heavy, climbing upward from the valley like the breath of a furnace that had not yet finished its work. The negotiations were
Not even
over.
10?
The question had been answered. There were not even 10. Abraham stood in silence. The Bible does not record his words at this moment. Only his gaze, and sometimes silence is the most honest prayer available to us. The acknowledgement that we have seen something too large for language.
It is true.
Something that simultaneously confirms everything we believed about God and costs more than we expected the confirmation to be. The justice of God is not the opposite of His mercy. It is the place where everything is finally set right.
Help us! We can't go on! Is anyone there?
Please
Where the
hear
cries
us,
that
we're
went
desperate.
unanswered for years are answered all at once. Where the patience that looked like absence is revealed to have been the longest possible extension of grace. And yet even in the smoke, mercy was still at work. The text says that when God destroyed the cities of the plain, He remembered Abraham and sent Lot out from the middle of the destruction. Lot was not saved because he was heroic. He was not saved because he had been consistent or faithful or strong. He was saved because someone else had stood before God for him. Abraham's intercession did not prevent the destruction of Sodom, but it carved a corridor of mercy through the middle of judgment. Wide enough for one reluctant man and his daughters to pass through to the other side. This is what intercession actually does, not a magic shield that makes consequences disappear, but a cry that opens space inside judgment, space with the mercy of God.
Keep moving. We must not look back.
Can reach people who would not have survived on their
Thanks be
own
to him who
worthiness
reached
alone.
us.
From his hillside, Abraham could not see the details. He did not know about the hand that had grabbed Lot. He did not know about the lingering, the terror, the narrow escape. He saw only smoke, but heaven had already recorded the three most important words in the entire aftermath. God remembered Abraham. Divine memory is not nostalgia. It is not a fond looking back at past conversations. It is action, God moving in the present because of a promise he made in the past. Reaching into the wreckage of judgment to pull out the people connected to the man he had called. The smoke rising over the valley was not the end of the story.
The road is long, my daughters.
It was the end of one chapter, and the beginning of the long, complicated journey of those who survived it. Because survival, as Lot would discover, does not automatically mean healing. The fire that erased the valley could not erase what the valley had done to the people who had lived inside it for so long. Trauma travels, it moves into caves and dark places.
You must carry the burden.
It shapes decisions that shape generations, and from those decisions, born in fear, shaped by laws, forged in the shadow of judgment, two nations would emerge whose names would echo through the rest of the Bible in ways that no one standing on that ash-covered plain could possibly have predicted.
The smoke rises.
But that is a story for another time. For now, we stand with Abraham on the ridge. We watch the smoke rise. We hold the tension between what justice required and what mercy refused to abandon. And we understand, perhaps for the first time with real weight, that the God who opens furnaces over cities is the same God who grabs reluctant men by the hand and drags them toward a future they were too afraid to choose for themselves. The smoke has settled now. The valley that once shimmered like paradise is quiet. Beneath centuries of salt and silence, the cities that believed themselves untouchable exist now only in ash layers buried under a sea that still carries their memory in its water. But the story has not finished speaking. It never does. Because Sodom is not simply a place that was destroyed. It is a question that was asked, and is still waiting for an honest answer. From every generation that inherits it, we have walked the full length of this journey together. We began with a man named Abram stepping off the edge of everything familiar.
You are the one. The vision belongs
Because a
only
voice
to
he
you.
could not prove to anyone else told him to
No
go.
one.
We watched his nephew choose the glittering valley, eyes wide open, heart wide open. Walking toward comfort wrapped in danger while the uncle he left behind received an inheritance that no eye could fully see.
It's the finest dates in all of Sodom. They are too
We
dear,
stood inside
but they are
Sodom's
fresh.
walls and felt the seduction
I
of
will
a
give you 4
city.
brass for them.
that had organized its entire existence around the elimination of accountability.
Welcome, friends.
May peace be upon this house.
We sat in Abraham's
Thank you for
tent
your
while heaven
kindness.
shared a meal with dust.
No, no, that cannot be.
And a woman
No,
behind a
no.
curtain laughed at an
Impossible.
impossible promise.
Impossible.
I will not yield.
We
You are
watched
the
one
judge of all
man
the
stand
earth.
before the judge
You
of all
must
the
do
earth and
right.
refused to stop asking, until mercy had been given every room it could possibly occupy.
Open up! Give them to us!
We felt the terror of a city pressing against a single door.
You actually believe that?
We heard the laughter of young men who thought the end of their world was a joke.
Completely.
We watched a woman freeze at the exact boundary between salvation and everything she could not release. And we stood on the ridge with Abraham and looked at the smoke. 3 figures walk out of the story and stand before every generation that reads
God, spare this place. The
it.
smoke
Abraham,
rises,
the
Father.
intercessor, the man who
And
could
so
have
does
watched
my
the smoke
plea.
rise with satisfaction, who could have said they deserved it and turned away. Instead, he stood in the gap. He held the tension between justice and mercy without collapsing
I pray for
either
the ones I
one.
don't know.
He
the
pleaded
unnamed.
for people whose names
Please
he
have
did not
mercy,
know,
God, on
in a
those I
city he
cannot
had
see.
never entered. On behalf of a God whose justice he trusted completely and whose mercy he refused to stop appealing to. In a world that has perfected the art of condemnation from a
They are
distance,
wrong.
Abraham's posture is still the most radical thing available to us.
God, I stand before you.
To
For
stand
this city,
before God on behalf
all
of the
these
places
places
we
we
live, not with
humility,
arrogance, not with the satisfaction of the already rescued, but with tears. Lot, the compromiser, not a villain, not an atheist, not someone who stopped believing. A man who believed enough to be tormented but not quite enough to be distinct. Who saw the darkness clearly and stayed anyway. Who loved what was right and slowly learned to defend it. With methods born in the same city that was killing him from the inside. He is the warning that the church has always found most uncomfortable because he is the most familiar. It is possible to belong to God and still build your life in the wrong valley. It is possible to be grieved by a culture and still be more entangled with it than
Come
separated
with
from
us.
it.
You'll be safe here.
We're here for you. Don't
It
fight
is
at all.
possible to
I
be
can't.
dragged
Leave
to
me alone.
safety by grace,
Just a little further.
and still spend the rest of your life in a cave of your own construction. Never quite recovering the altitude you surrendered when you lifted your eyes toward Sodom and chose what looked good over what was good. And Lot's wife, she is the figure Jesus himself refused to leave in the past. Remember Lot's wife, not her name. We never learn her name.
No.
Not her history, not her
Please,
intentions, just the moment, that single sustained backward glance. That turned a living woman into a monument. She did not fight God, she did not curse the angels. She simply could not imagine her future without what God had decided to leave in ruins. And there are people in every generation who do not lose their souls through dramatic rebellion,
I'll take a moment to consider. Thank you.
but through a divided loyalty so
Excuse
quiet,
me, I just remembered
so
something I need to
habitual,
do on this
so
side.
dressed in the clothing of reasonable attachment, that they never notice the freezing until they are already still. The later writers of Scripture do not file Sodom away as ancient history.
Sodom as proof of rescue
Peter
capacity.
points to it as proof that the Lord
Not
knows
only
how to
judgment.
rescue the godly from trials, and knows how to reserve the unjust for a day of judgment still coming. Jude holds it up as a warning against complacency, cities that serve as an example, undergoing a punishment that still echoes for anyone willing to listen.
The wisdom we hold reaches back,
And
connecting
Jesus,
us to
standing
truth
in the middle of his own
forged across
ministry,
the ages. You ask about the end of the age, the return of Sodom.
speaking to people
What
who
will be
asked
the
about
sign?
the end of the age,
Tell us about the end.
reaches back across 15 centuries and places Sodom directly in front of them. As it was in the days of Lot, people eating, drinking, buying, selling, planting, building, until the day fire fell from the sky and destroyed them all. The warning is not about the specific sins of Sodom. The warning is about the
The
normalcy,
storm gathers.
the
We
most
must move
dangerous spiritual condition is not outright wickedness.
The finest spices from the east, guaranteed pure.
It is
These pots are
comfortable,
sturdy, made by
prosperous,
master crafters.
busy
May I have a
normalcy,
measure of this
a life
turmeric,
so
vendor?
full of
Repent,
legitimate
the judgment is
things
coming. The end is near.
that the possibility
Oh, no,
of
it is just
judgment
this
feels
fool
like
again.
an interruption
Pay him
too
no mind.
implausible to take seriously. So what does this valley say to us? It says, repent, not merely in behavior but in affection. Turn not just the feet but the heart. Refuse the pride that whispers you are untouchable. Resist the cruelty that treats the vulnerable as invisible.
Welcome, friends. Come in. The table is set.
Recover the lost and radical
Thank
practice
you, we
of
are
hospitality,
grateful. We have been
opening
searching.
doors instead of building walls. Seeing the stranger at the gate as someone whose dignity reflects the image of God. It says, live like Abraham, pilgrim, not settler. Tent and altar, not tower and throne, a person who understands that this world, in its current form, is not the city we are ultimately building
I
toward.
stand in the gap and
And
pray
it says, intercede,
place
stand
you
in the
call
gap
home.
for the places you live. Carry the names of your city before God the way Abraham carried a whole valley in his hands. And refuse to open them until mercy had been given every possible answer. Most of all, it points beyond itself. Every city that Sodom
They
represents,
race toward salvation.
every valley,
every valley that
soul
races
must be
toward its
dragged.
own judgment,
Reluctant,
every reluctant
but
soul
chosen.
being dragged toward salvation. All of it points to a Redeemer who did not merely plead for the wicked from a safe distance. He walked into the fire himself, the one greater than Abraham, who did not only stand before the judge on our behalf but became the judgment. Absorbed it, wore it, so that the corridor of mercy carved through the middle of destruction could be wide enough for anyone willing to walk through it. The smoke over Sodom points forward, always forward, to a cross on a hill, where justice and mercy finally embraced each other and never let go. If this film has stirred something in you, a recognition, a discomfort, I hope you had almost stopped carrying. Do not let it settle back into silence.
Listen carefully, my son. The way ahead is perilous.
Shared with
but there
someone
is
who
still
needs
hope.
the warning and the hope woven together in the same breath. Like this video so that its message can travel further than either of us can reach alone. Subscribe to this channel and walk with us as we continue opening the sealed rooms of Scripture, where history and faith meet and the hidden things finally speak. And leave a comment below, not to perform, not to argue, but to answer the question this valley has been asking since the morning the smoke rose over the plain.
Where are you standing?
Where are you standing right now? We read every word.
Every word.
Open it! We must get through!
We will see you in the next film, where another door opens, another forgotten story steps into the light, and the truth that has been waiting finally finds its voice. Between the ash and the promise, the story is still being written. And you are still in it, between the ash and the promise.